Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Cheltenham Town website and also to the Cheltenham Town YouTube channel. We are live for our latest live Q&A here at Cheltenham Town to give you an update and to give you all the information that you need on all the things that have been going on recently here at Cheltenham Town. It's a part of a sort of determination from the club to make sure that our communication is as clear as possible to you guys. Of course, is what is such a testing time for not just football clubs, but everyone in society right now. To do that, this evening for our live Q&A, I'm delighted to say that we've got two of the club's board of directors who are online with us, who are going to be answering some of the questions you've sent in already, and also answering some questions that are going to hopefully come in live during the broadcast as well. I'll introduce them quickly to you. Firstly, I'm pleased to say we've got Paul Bence, who is our commercial director here at the Johnny Rock Stadium. Paul's going to be answering quite a few queries that have come in. We've also got Clive Gowing as well. So Clive is our finance director here at the Johnny Rock Stadium as well. So Clive also has very kindly joined us this evening to give us an update on some of the things going on with the financial side of the football club as well. Chaps, thanks very much for joining us. I should just say, if you've got any live questions you want to put in this evening, you can do so on Twitter by using the hashtag CTFC. You can also go onto our actual live YouTube broadcast stream and post a question on there as well. And I will do our best to pick it up live during the broadcast this evening. And finally, I should just quickly say, hopefully Paul Godfrey, our club secretary, is also going to be coming on for a bit onto the call a little bit later on to discuss some of the arrangements around the playoffs. But we'll start with some of the questions we've had in already. Obviously, we announced yesterday, didn't we, chaps, about the season ticket situation. I'll just quickly go for this question from Ben Hodge, and feel free, whether you want to jointly pick it up or one of you. Ben said, with the information released last night regarding season ticket refunds, has the club considered other options apart from the two options mentioned? For example, a shop voucher for the same amount, a 50% refund on a new shirt, and offer those who deferred the money something in return to say thank you for deferring the money. And any thoughts on that, either Paul or Clive?
Yep. Do you want to go, Paul, or do you want me to?
You can go if you want. I can add to your comments.
Sure. I think, firstly, yes, we did. We consider lots of options. We meet as a commercial team, so Paul's team meet, and I've sat in on some of those meetings during this period. And yes, we discussed all sorts of different options. We kind of wanted to try and keep it as clean as possible, which is why we've gone with the two options. I know there's talk about things like giving away a shirt, but we've got budgets as well in mind that we need to try and sell those as well. So we've just gone and try and make it as easy as possible. We understand, obviously, current situation, finances. It is a difficult time for some people out there and some of our supporters out there. So we've kind of gone with the two options just to make it as clean and as easy as possible.
Yeah, I agree with Clive's sentiments there. I think we wanted a sort of option A and an option B to give the opportunity to people to have their money back, and rightly so, but also to give it to the club. And it's a really difficult time for everybody, including the club. And also, if we sort of look to overcomplicate things there, we bring in shirts and rebates and things like that. We're trying to push it over to next season as well. We have got a lot of staff furloughed. So, our resource and overheads, we're trying to keep to as low as possible at the moment. So we wanted to try and keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah, and another question from Ben, which is also related to season tickets and tickets overall. I know yourself as a board are meeting all the time to discuss issues at the moment and maybe trying to think about the future as well. And he says, has the club thought about increasing next year's season ticket prices or match day prices?
I'm happy to take that one. We had a clear plan for next season's tickets, whether we were going to be a League One or a League Two side. And obviously, when this horrendous virus came along, we pretty much had to rip that plan up and start again. And the answer to the question is we just don't know. We don't know when the season's obviously going to start. We're thinking it could be September through to May. And we also need to know what the environment will be, whether there's going to be fans in the stadium or not. And I think within the news today that the government are looking at bringing the 2 metre social distancing rules down to 1 metre. And I think for the hospitality industry, which obviously includes entertainment and football, the game we're in, it could be really crucial. So we want to see how that sort of pans out over the next couple of weeks, and get some more advice and guidance. And we really want to get the playoffs through, and hopefully very much be a League One side. and then we can act very quickly on where we want to go with direction of travel on the season tickets.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Paul. I think
I will say that's a cracking question as well. Someone who wants to increase season ticket prices. I like that, man.
Well, yeah, it'd be a risky game, I think. But I don't think we'll be increasing season tickets for next year. Even if we obviously go up, we just that's not part of our remit.
Cool, nice one. I think we are hopefully going to get a question joining us live in a minute, but I think they're just connecting to audio at the moment. So I'll quickly just continue with some of the questions we've had sent in already. This one was from Richard Alsop, but I think he was also asking on behalf perhaps of someone else, obviously connected to the Robbins Trust. The question is, why is the deadline for claiming refunds so tight, particularly as so many fans' jobs are still not secure?
Yeah, I think... Obviously, we understand people's jobs aren't secure. We've put the deadline. We've put 2 weeks out now to give people time to kind of consider their options. But as a club, we need to forecast and we need to plan as well. I've kind of spent the last 3 months planning for every single scenario. Certainly in the early days, I was constantly doing forecasts, and almost as soon as I completed one forecast, something would change and I'd have to start again. And so, as a club, we need some security and we need to understand where we lie as well, which is why we've put the 2 week deadline on there, because we need to be able to forecast and plan our budgets and understand exactly where we are as a club. But like we say, we gave the 2 options out now because we understand that it is a difficult time for a lot of people at the moment.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Clive. And delighted to say that I think we have got our first supporter joining us live this evening. Hello. Thank you very much for joining us. Feel free to fire away with your question. Paul and Clive are here to answer.
Okay, I thought there'd be a few more. I haven't got any at the moment.
Okay, no worries. That's fine. We'll come back to you in a minute if you've got a question to ask, and we'll certainly, I'm sure the guys will be more than happy to answer it. Quickly, just go back to another question that we've had in already. This one is another one that came from Richard Alsop. It says, are the club looking at some sort of discount or extended voucher scheme for season tickets next season? Again, another one looking at the sort of future season tickets moving forward.
There's many schemes we're looking at the moment, so there's nothing off the table at all. And like I said, it's something we need to take stock of at the moment. Complete this season. Everything's out the window. Normally we'd do the early bird campaign and we would sort of fire that through. And unfortunately, we just not had the opportunity to do that this year. And the frustrating thing is, obviously, after such a great season, Michael and the team have been fantastic. Fans have been great. There's been more to the ground, and we were really optimistic of next season's season tickets and attendances going only one way. Hopefully that will still happen. We just need to see where the situation is in the next couple of weeks, and then we can make some pretty quick communication to our fans.
Yes, sure. And another one sort of, it's a similar question in many ways, and I suppose the answer could be quite similar to that, Paul, but it's just come in on Twitter from Sam Nair. It says, regarding season tickets, would the club think about selling a limited 5-year season ticket to increase revenue in the close season? So again, another sort of idea there that maybe could help, move the club financially moving forward.
Well, that's probably more one for Clive, really. I know some clubs have done that, sort of 5-year membership, but I suppose that's a lot of clubs do that if they really need the cash flow. Clive?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of clubs do it. And I think we did it as a club once in our history in the past, when you are financially in a serious hole, really. And the difficulty you've got with those, and I always use it as kind of your salaries and your wages and trying to link it to that. If I said to you, Richard, I'm going to pay for I'm going to give you a portion of your salary now, today, for the next 5 years, you've still got your mortgage to pay in 4 or 5 years' time. So although it's great today because you've got a big pot of cash in your bank, you're basically just kicking the can down the road, because what you're doing is just deferring the problem, and the problem will always be there. What we're trying to do at this point in time now is kind of get through this period of time, which a lot of difficulties a lot of clubs are in, but be able to come out of it as quickly as possible and in the best position as possible. things like that will only make the pain last longer. And so they are good, and they sometimes work, and there might still be times when we have to do something like that. But it's more so good when you kind of generate some cash to then generate further income.
Brilliant. Now, Paul, one maybe for you, just in terms of, again, another idea that's come in from a supporter, from Sam. He says, have the club thought about novel ways for screening games? Of course, maybe even at the start of next season, there's a good chance we're not going to have crowds in the ground for quite a while. For example, government guidelines will allow for drive-in film screenings from the 15th of June, allowing people to watch big screen cinema whilst remaining in their cars. A top flight football team in Denmark screened a game this way with space for 3,000 cars. Could the club consider something like this, perhaps at the racecourse where there's more space, and charge fans to attend to help make it financially viable?
Where was that? Who's that question from, Richard?
It is from Sam.
Well, thanks, Sam. You stole my thunder there. I've got that in my notes here. But no, it's a great point. And I've only, in the last 48 hours, been liaising with Cheltenham Business Group and District to have a look into this jointly. And I did see the pictures actually on Twitter from that Danish game. It looked great. So yeah, absolutely. We're look at our car park first of all as well. And look at driving movies, maybe even some football games. Well, obviously we need to look at legalities of be able to do that, and within social distancing as well. So yeah, great idea that people stay in the cars. Maybe we could do some sort of waiter service, something from the bar. So that's certainly one of the novel ideas is we're looking at to try and drum up some support and commercial being really in this difficult time for the club, because our pitch is everything really. That's our asset that we can use, and it's sort of out of bounds at the moment. Obviously not for the team, and hopefully we'll be winning a game a week on Monday on there. But there's lots of little things we're looking at the moment, and which I'm sure I'll come on to in the next sort of 10-20 minutes.
Yeah, a question which maybe is difficult to ask specifically. We've had it on Twitter because of the almost like the general nature of it across the board in football. This one though from Matt Reen on Twitter, he says, you guys are in the know. How many clubs are seriously in danger of going under? What are you hearing on that sort of level? I know there's probably only so much you could reveal maybe from what you're hearing from the EFL. But what are your thoughts in terms of the threats to football clubs in the Football League with all that's going on at the moment?
Go on then, Clive, you go first.
Difficult question. I don't want to speculate about a lot of other clubs. It's a difficult time for every club, so that's what I can say. So I can't put any figures really, and I don't write for the BBC or newspaper to kind of speculate. But it's a very difficult time for a lot of clubs. So if you look at us, mid-March, we lost the ability to generate any revenue. The only revenue we get in now, and the only additional cash is from the Football League as part of our, and the Premier League as part of our being in League Two. All other revenue we generate, we've lost the ability. So that's match days, we've lost the cricket festivals, corporate five-a-sides, obviously season ticket revenue we've been selling now, conferencing, bar revenue. We pretty much stopped generating. Now, obviously, the government furlough scheme has been fantastic and has helped. But as the longer this goes on, and I always said the short term we could cope. It's the more medium and long term, and how long is that medium term? When we get back to football in potentially September is what we're hearing. What does it look like? What does the environment look like? Are we what are we doing regarding social distancing? Is it down to 1 meter? How does that look in terms of a stadium? If put into prospects, I haven't seen much in football, but I know Twickenham, the rugby stadium, said that if they did a 2 meter social distancing, they'd go from I think about 80,000 capacity to less than 10. So we can only speculate what that would do to us. It's all those things. So it's kind of the medium term. It's really, to me, has always been my worry is how long this piece goes for. All I can really talk about is ourselves as a club. We are managing it the best we can. Like I say, I kind of spent the first couple of months constantly looking at every single cash flow scenario possible. And we were having weekly meetings with EFL, trying to get almost weekly updates, and it would be slow, and then all of a sudden you get a flurry of information, and then it would slow down again. It seems to slow down in more recent weeks as we've started to kind of understand exactly where we are. We know we're going to be playing the playoffs. We know that League Two's ended, and we're fairly certain it's going to be it's not going to be back. Football's not going to be back until September at the earliest. So we've kind of in a period now where it's a little bit we know the short-term horizon, but then it's how long does that last for? What does September to the end of next season mean to us? Lots of unanswered questions, but every club's in the same boat. Things like the cup competitions. Well, how do we fit those in there? If we're going to start in September, I'm assuming the season's got to end around the same time because we've got the international tournaments next summer. So all those sort of questions are a little bit unknown at the moment, and they obviously all affect your finances when it turns around. If you've got midweek games, your revenue's down compared to a Saturday.
Well, that's the politician's answer there, isn't it, Clive? To be honest, you've managed to dodge out. I'll hit it more head on for us, Joycey, actually. So, I mean, everyone's probably seeing it in the press. Macclesfield can't pay their players, potentially get relegated for it, which I think is probably an apt punishment for sort of mismanagement. It's absolutely not the players' fault or the management team there. And football league clubs you can get carried away. With signing players. I'll big up Clive here. We've got a very prudent finance director, so every single little thing from a bit of surveillance, updating cameras to spending £50 on Facebook sponsorship, whatever, it will go through Clive, and none of the other board will do anything without consulting Clive or going to a board decision. So although I do feel sorry for some of the clubs, and you can play victim all day long, but we're all in this situation together, and we've got to get through it. And although we're certainly not one of the richest clubs in League Two, we're more than able to survive this period and bounce back through it. I know some of the clubs, if they're in the playoffs, wouldn't have been able to pay to go through the playoffs. We're in an fortunate position, I suppose. Fortunate, unfortunate that there's 4 teams and only one of them are going to go up now, and the other 3 are going to be financially down because you've got to unfurlough all the players and as we have done, and go back into training for what is a mini tournament where 3 teams will end up in the same league and one will go up into League One.
That's right. Nice one. Thank you very much, Paul. A question maybe for yourself, Clive, from Darren Johnson on Twitter. It says, budget-wise, how much difference does it actually make to be in League One as opposed to being in League Two?
For next season, probably not much different, because of the unknown at the moment. There is there's the way our funding and the way League One and League Two, there isn't too much between the 2 divisions in terms of funding. You get Football League money and you get Premier League money for being in the Football League. The way that's set out in the Football League, it's League Two get a percentage. It's around $1 million. Get around $1.5 million in League One, and then it jumps substantially up in the Championship. If you go in the Championship, you're talking millions, and then ultimately we all know what happens if you go from the Championship to the Premier League as well. So there is quite a big gulf from League One to Championship, and there isn't too much between League Two and League One. Where you would pick up additional revenue as well, it's around crowds, bigger teams. We look at some of the teams in League One. You've got the Sunderland probably being one of the biggest, but you've got the likes of Portsmouth as well. You've got some good supported teams there. So in a normal season where we know we'd be having fans, you can kind of look at that as well, because you've got some big crowds, and that's where you'll be generating some good money. And we know that those games will sell well commercially as well. For next season, the current climate, it's a little bit unknown. You could get all those big clubs in potentially what is the first part of the season, which could be restricted crowds. So it makes it a lot more difficult next year. And we're probably being a little bit more on the prudent side.
Yeah. Paul, if we can talk crowdfunding for a moment.
Yeah.
Obviously, the cutout figures at the moment making a lot of headlines, both nationally and also locally, raise a fantastic amount of money. What have your thoughts been behind that whole campaign, which has been something that's really got the sort of the community behind the club in many ways?
Phenomenal. And I'd just like to say a massive thank you to every single fan who have contributed to it. I mean, obviously, it's an idea we stole from Germany. So we can't say it as its own, but we wanted to get this through. We wanted the team to know that they've got the fans behind them. And this is, I think, the best gesture we can do. We originally set a target for about 12.5K. And it's gone up and up, and I've just actually seen now I've actually become addicted to the refresh button on my phone. And thank you to Matt Wynn, who just put in £250. So we're up to 27.5K. We're going to get 1,000 Corex cutouts at the game, and it is phenomenal. And it's given us a bit more inspiration of thinking, well, actually, in these tough times, everyone can come together and give a bit of money to a football club, which isn't an easy thing to do. But it's really given that community feel. I've looked at every single one of those 400 odd comments on there, and it is amazing, and then the comments on our Facebook page. Like I said, a big shout out to everyone, because it's been amazing. And you can be sure that Mike will be showing all of the team those comments and well, they'll be all there in the crowd to see them all as well. It's a lot of admin for us as well now, actually. I mean, to put wooden structures up at the club and getting cable ties to put everybody in there. So next week's going to be very, very busy, despite not having an actual crowd. And yeah, who knows what's going to happen. Hopefully we can swap those Corex cutouts for actual fans. It's starting next season, but picking up on what Clive was just saying on earlier, actually, with the crowds and stuff, what I'm really hoping is that we can start the season in September with a crowd, and if we're allowed to let people in, and we can try and get season ticket holders through, if they're limiting our crowd to 1,000, whatever, then that will be part of our sort of campaign as well. So it's crowdfunder's been great, and a bit like when we did the scoreboard, it's amazing how the fans get behind us, and great.
Certainly. And talking of fans being able to support the football club financially, it's like kind of two questions along the same subject here. We'll start just with Brian Cosgrove, just asking, have the directors considered the option of extending the present shareholder base by the issue of new shares? It's just that given the two crowdfunding successes we've had at CTFC, I'm pretty confident that new shares would be attractive to a lot of supporters. And also Robert Drake says that he's seen that Hartlepool United are consulting fans over a potential share issue proposal. It's aimed at fans and local businesses with the aim of raising up to 200 grand. Is that a possibility for us too? I don't know, Clive, maybe if that's one for you in terms from a shares perspective.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of shares and doing a full rights issue, it's something we'd have to, there's some legalities behind it. So we'd have to go out to our existing shareholders and get approval for to do a full rights issue. It's certainly not something we've really considered in the short term for now. But it has made, those questions have made me think as well in terms of, and the crowdfunders. It kind of, as Paul said, it gives you a bit of a boost. And as we look at some ground developments at some stage, we've talked about the main stand, we've talked about the stand behind the goal. Unfortunately, a lot of our cash that we'd hoped, we'd kept for, I call it a rainy day, but really for ground improvements, we're going to consume really in the next, well, we have started to consume and we're going to be consuming in the next 6 months. Those sort of issues could be used in that particular way. We could be potentially as a long-term look at maybe a share issue for ground development or something like that. So it's, to answer the question, not in the short term, but it's given us a bit of food for thought, I think.
Just what you said on ground improvements, Clive. I mean, obviously you're a party of your initial conversation today with some consultants looking at the main stand. So although short term, we've got to be very, very careful. It doesn't stop us planning for the long term. and very much our long-term goal is to look at our main stand and make it a lot better. So we're talking about better conferencing, potentially like hotel rooms, more boxes, and just really making it more commercial. And so it's long term, so nothing's going to happen in the short term, but it's something that the board are very conscious of, that we want to do that, and not just on the pitch where I'd like to think that why can't we be in a championship in a couple of years' time? Let's not just dream about it. And why can't we have a much better? Our pitch is fantastic, but why can't we have the bit around it being fantastic as well? Hey, Mr. Wilcox, you need to ask us a question now. Are you ready to ask? Come on.
Really, I'm not a businessman, but I just think all the things that you're doing at the moment, the crowdfunding is brilliant. I think it's really good because it's engaging all the supporters at a time when they can't engage practically by watching. I know it's the end of the season, but that's been a great thing. And I think crowdfunding is the way forward to keeping the fans engaged as you're doing at the moment. So I can only praise you all you're doing, because I know must be very difficult at the moment.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, but also it's putting Cheltenham on the map. The amount of national press we've got out of it, and Murray Toms and Richard doing a fantastic job. And who is it? Henry? Should know his name.
Henry Winter. That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, he's got a couple of million followers, so hopefully that'll put a little, a bit more exposure and awareness out there in Cheltenham Town. And
the boot zooms have been good as well. I think that's been a really good way of keeping the fans engaged by getting the old play times when we had football and we did well. That's been a really good thing, engaging the fans. Old and I'm been 50 years a fan, so some of those early ones were really reliving the past. So can only congratulate what you've been doing.
Thank you. I mean, obviously that's down to Richard and Murray and those guys on that side. But we were very conscious that we wanted to keep communication levels high as well. So that's why Richard has remained unfurloughed and obviously done a sterling job with connecting with all the old players. And if people have been furloughed, sat at home, then hopefully we give them a good hour or two every other day to reminisce.
Yeah, no, it's been great, and Zoom's enabled that to happen. So keep it going.
Brilliant. Nice one. Thank you very much for that. That's fantastic. The boot zoom's been a great way to connect with the fans, and some stories from
you only got one on tonight, but you've got Twitter and everything else going on, so I know I'm not alone.
Brilliant, good stuff. And just to get the former players' views and so on, get them and all their stories that perhaps people haven't heard before, or to revisit old stories, has been fantastic as well. So brilliant stuff. And Paul, I'd just like to say, obviously, you spoke about some of the events that we've missed out on, and you have as well, Clive. The cricket festival, the five-a-side tournament that was coming up. That would have been good money makers for the football club. In terms of another one that wouldn't have happened, obviously, is the concert, Paul. And is there sort of thinking about possibly moving that forward next year? Obviously, there's still a huge amount to do in terms of the whole country being safe and getting back to big events and so on.
Yeah, I've already had a couple of initial conversations on that. See, we're looking at May again. I think the Euros are going to be about June the 15th for a good 4 weeks. So when our season will finish, I'd imagine it's going to be in May, but that's just a wild guess, really. So last week or two in May, we'll be looking to do a concert, and sort of the acts we're improving year by year. So hopefully we'll have someone really decent, and that's the whole art is in preparation and getting to the right people early. So we've had a couple of years of improvement on numbers, and we've got capacity for up to 10,000. But with the new normal, I don't know how many that would be. But it's certainly something that we will look to do and continue to do for next year.
Nice one. One big question as well we should go over, which has been asked by a lot of fans. I'll quickly read out their names because they're all questions all very similar. Also, it's just been posted on Twitter as well from Matt Bloxham, and that's regards coverage, TV coverage, and perhaps overall media coverage of the playoffs. Obviously, a lot of people are wondering where they can watch it. I think we also had a similar question from Lawrence Pierce asking whether it would be possible for the club to stream it online via the club website as well. Sam Nair also asked it regarding where it'd be available to watch. obviously I'm happy to answer that one, but as well, I don't know if you guys, you in terms of what you know a bit about it, or whether you want me to give any sort of update on that.
Well, I think Sky Sports have got the rights, so we wouldn't be able to live stream it. Is my understanding of it.
Yeah,
But
I looked at this one before because we expected it to come up. So yeah, Sky Sports got the subscription. They paid for that, and that was dealt with. Obviously they've got it at the start of the season. So they've got exclusive right holders. So the match, can't be shown on any free to air or any iFollow. Unfortunately, it's just on the Sky Sports subscription.
Yeah, that's right. And I think obviously you can still listen to commentary on BBC Radio Gloucestershire, BBC Radio Northampton. Although you drive, might as well listen to BBC Gloucestershire. And also, I think TalkSport are also going to be commentating the game as well. So you can listen to coverage as well if you can't see it. But yeah, Sky Sports, like Clive and Paul say. And that was also a similar question for what we had from Heidi. But I'll also go to another question we had from Heidi. She's asking more around the whole sort of situation at the ground. Is there a maximum number of essential people that are actually allowed into the ground? Players, coaching, medical, safety, media staff, etc., for the playoff games, including the final? And do they all have to be COVID tested? That's the question from Heidi Turfrey.
I can answer that one. Paul probably knows just as much as me. We've got our ground safety officer, so Andy Dalgetty and Paul Godfrey, who's, I think, stadium safety officer. And those two have been liaising directly on it, but they've been feeding back to the board. My understanding is there's kind of two elements of the ground. So there's the ground floor, should we call it, which is obviously pitch side, and basically anyone in the terrace and that sort of level. And my understanding is they're the kind of the COVID tested ones. So the pitch side, Michael, etc. can't then walk up into the stands. So hopefully managers don't get sent off, I guess. And then we've got a limited number of people in the main stand. And there isn't a kind of a maximum or minimum number. Or I shouldn't say, I think there probably is a maximum number, but it's people that have to be there. So you have to have a specific job or specific reason to be in that stand, is the current guidance we've got. So, people's families, so we're being told at the moment, can't attend. It has to be literally, you've got a specific purpose to be there, or have a specific role in the ground, in the club.
Yeah, I've been having meetings even with the EFL myself, and it's amazing the sort of the rules and restrictions that we never would have experienced before at a football ground, but of course is a must given everything that's gone on right now.
Yeah,
everyone's going to have their temperature taken when they come into the ground as well. So yeah, I mean it's extremely strict, and yeah, it's got to be that way.
So yeah, I guess the message to everyone is, it is a behind closed doors game. So it is literally there will be a list of names who are allowed in. Like Paul said, you temperature check when you come into the ground, into the car park. List of names, and unfortunately, if your name's not down, you're not coming in.
I think it's important to say as well, and it's a really difficult thing to say, but for fans, please stay at home. Don't come to the ground. Don't come down Modern Road, because you're not going to be getting close to the ground, and you're better off just watching it at home if you can, or listening to it on the radio, because there is no access to anybody at the ground on the Monday night.
Yeah, and I think the EFL themselves are going to be launching a campaign pretty soon, also just to encourage fans, not to go to the stadiums and so on, and to enjoy it at home as best as they can, of course. We'll go to some more questions we've had in on Twitter. Of course, people using the hashtag CTFC to get in contact this evening. This one from Graham Fletcher. He says, "Hi, Rich. Watching the Q&A. Good evening, Graham. Good evening to you all. A great plan to ask fans to donate their season ticket monies. I'm sure that will be successful. Do you think the Premier League and the PFA will help League 1 and 2 clubs?"
I won't say no, because the Premier League do filter money down into the EFL, and like I say, I've been on those meetings with Rick Parry, the chairman of the EFL, and the other League 2 clubs. So they do help already, but they've got their own problems as well, I think is probably the diplomatic answer. Every club at every level is in this situation. Now, I know our kind of requirements are probably a drop in the ocean to some of the Premier League clubs, but they're also reliant on gate receipts, commercial revenue, which they're struggling with as well. So the diplomatic answer is probably no, but they help us anyway with some of the funding that drops down for the leagues.
Sure. And a question again that we had in earlier, sent in previously. This one's from Tom O'Driscoll. Who is paying for the COVID-19 testing? Is the club currently paying this, or have the EFL stepped in? Also, I know there are several government low-interest loans available to small businesses. Would Cheltenham be eligible to apply for financial support?
In terms of testing, we're still in discussions with the league about who's paying. So physically at the moment we're not paying, but we're in those discussions with the Football League regarding the testing and also other expenses we're incurring for being in the playoffs. As Paul mentioned earlier on, League One and League Two was ended because of the cost of coming back. Now, obviously, we're in a fortunate position on the pitch that we're in the playoffs, probably an unfortunate position off the pitch financially that we're in the playoffs. So it's a difficult time, but we're all in football to get as high up the leagues as possible. So we understand the situation and we want to win those games. In terms of things like the loans, short answer is as a club we haven't looked at it, but I know other League Two clubs have. Short answer is banks don't lend money to football clubs. And so although they are government-backed loans as such, or government initiatives, they all go through the banks. And banks don't loan money to football clubs because they've been burnt in the past. So that's the kind of short answer of it. But as a club, we probably wouldn't be looking at that scenario just because it's similar to the scenarios around 5-year season tickets. By taking out loans, if it's just to get you through a period of time, it's just making that pain longer. We've got to make measures as a club to get us through this period of time, get us out the other end as quickly as possible, in the best position as possible. Although loans are good, we'd look at a loan if we could get it for something like maybe a main stand, because that would generate money that would allow us to pay back the loan and hopefully have a bit of profit. A loan just to be in the same situation is just really moving that problem down the line.
That's what Clive's saying there, and I just had a small comment really that I would be disappointed if the EFL hadn't sort of helped us out really. We are guinea pigs really for COVID testing, and they've asked 4 teams to come back and play on through League Two, and we're doing that. You'll see the issues they've had in League One, not so much in League Two, and us at Cheltenham. We'd probably be doubly disappointed if we don't go up, because we were sort of heirs to the throne. I think if there is no more football, I do think that we would be the ones going up. So if anything, we've got sort of the most to lose from this. But hopefully the league will see that and they come forward and contribute fully to the testing.
Brilliant. A question we've had in on Twitter from Marcus Williams. He says, will the club be active in the transfer market when it opens? How much activity is likely to take place? Obviously through the last few months, Michael and Mickey have done a great job with sort of picking the players and adding to their contracts, and obviously we've been fairly active and done fantastically well with our loan signings. So I think the important one here is what league we are in next season, and that really will be dependent for Mickey to go after some players, because with League One then you tend to get some players who have been at bigger clubs who have been loaned out to League Two clubs first, and then they take that step up to League One, as we found with players like Jacob Maddox and players like that. So we'll have to be active, and obviously we have to be very prudent on our budgets now. They're clearly not going to be anywhere near we anticipated for next season, and once again through no fault of our own. And Clive certainly has his say on what the budgets are.
I've spoke to Mickey quite a lot. He phones me up a lot. I think he's he's constantly always on the phone, Mickey Moore. But we've had discussions around whether in League One, League Two, what the budget looks like. And like Paul says, we've got a good core this year of players signed on already for next year. And allowed that continuity, which supporters like, which directors like, really, because we can start to fit affiliations. And when the gentleman talked earlier on about the boot teams and stuff, hopefully we've got some players now who will be around for a few years that won't say if this happens again in the future, but if in the future we're looking at doing those sort of things, that they'll be known with this period of time. In terms of, will we be active? I think we've got 11 signed on, maybe I guess we've got a couple of young, so maybe 12, 13 signed on for next year. So yes, we need to sign a few more players on to make a squad. So we will be looking at that. And at the moment, it's the difficult time is no one knows really when the football season's starting. We think it's September. What does that mean in terms of pre-season? What does that mean in terms of friendlies? How does that all work? And is it the 1st of September or the last day in September? There's still a bit of unknown. So we'll probably get the playoffs out, and then probably the summer transfer window will be a little bit slow, I guess, to start off with.
It's certainly going to be a buyer's market. It really will, with obviously clubs reducing budgets down. So, there's going to be some good opportunities for some players out there. So,
yeah, definitely very different to what is regularly the normal tradition. A question we've had in again on Twitter. This one is from Kirsty. She says, "Is there going to be a match day programme for the playoff game?"
Do you want to answer that one, Joycey?
Yes.
Well, it's something we've been discussing, haven't we, in some of our commercial meetings, which, I suppose the answer is yes, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to our first digital programme. So it's been something we've been talking about for a while, but we never want to sort of bite the bullet there, and it just makes sense now. And so, the content's being put together by our very man Richard here, and we will have a digital programme coming, which will be available obviously online. And it's a great opportunity for our sponsors as well to jump on that, because just having a physical page in a programme, but now we can really plug websites and hopefully increase their sort of awareness and traffic through those modes.
Definitely one of many things that are going to change, I think, in football, certainly, or at least sped up certain elements of football, isn't it? Things like this and digital programs, and a lot of clubs are doing it already, but certainly that's what we're going to be doing, like you say, Paul, for the first time for the playoff semi-final against Northampton. Just on the shop, obviously it's crucial, isn't it, that we use tools like that to bring income, and that fans feel they can still be connected to that club, even if it's just through merchandise and kit and so on. That it's a great tool to try and financially support the club and also get people connected with it.
I mean, we're in the age of digitalisation, and we need to improve quite a bit on that. Yes, and obviously we have made improvements to our club shop online, and we will continue to do that as well via Shopify. So sort of look out for that. And obviously, the new kit launch, which will be probably, I imagine, first week in July, something like that, will be a digital one. So effectively, we'll be having some sort of digital open day on that to launch our new home kit.
Brilliant. Well, I'll tell you what, we've been going for quite a while, I think 45 minutes this evening. So I really appreciate your time this evening. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add before we finish from your perspective, or if you're happy with all the many questions we've had in from fans tonight.
Not really for me. I mean, the one thing we're looking at the moment is iFollow, which could be quite important. And the quality, I don't think, is fantastic on it. And if we are playing behind closed doors, then we need to improve the quality of that. And I know there's quite a few clubs. I'm sort of part of the commercial group of Championship League 1 and League 2, and that's one of the main points there. It's one camera. And then if we want our fans to have a better experience by watching this, then we need iFollow to improve their service.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Well, I'll probably finish then tonight with one final tweet, but it's not actually a question. It's a statement as such, as Matt Reen on Twitter has put. He says, not a question, a statement really. In times of challenges, the club and fans have shown we can bounce back. Makes me proud to be associated with the club and the supporters. So quite a nice note there from Matt, obviously a big Cheltenham fan on Twitter to finish with, I think, this evening.
I've just got one question for Clive before we go. Actually, where did you get that shirt from? I hope you've paid for it.
Yeah, of course I did, Bence.
Yeah,
Of
okay.
course. I guess the only thing I'd like to say is apologies for the lockdown haircut as well.
Clearly, you did it yourself, so you know we can't say you had a hairdresser into that. Can we, so.
Good stuff. Well,
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks very much for joining us this evening. Really kind of you to give a bit of your time. Obviously, a lot of hard work with your own work, let alone also the work you're doing for the football club. So thank you both this evening. And thank you also to all the Cheltenham Town supporters who've got involved once again on our live Q&A. We'll be doing more of these moving forward, but believe it or not, in 7 days' time, at this time, we'll be playing the playoff semi-final first leg at Northampton. So exciting times ahead for all of us here at Cheltenham Town. Thanks very much, Paul. Thank you, Clive. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in this evening. Thank you.
On your bench.